me, please?
Let's see.
I'll just get started, huh? So we might have some people hopping in, and that's fine. So this month is the harvest moon, new moon. It is, let me go ahead and share my screen and get this presentation up. Share screen. New moon in Virgo, sun and moon in Virgo. So a lot of us are making plans and assessing what we've done so far this year and planning for the future. That analytical Virgo mind is working right now. Let's see if I can share my screen. Share screen. Harvest moon. All right. So we are in the 9th month of September. Kind of a funny fact is like Sept, that Sept piece of the word means 7. Today is September 7th, 7/7, but it's actually the 9th moon. So like in early Roman calendars, September was the 7th month, and October, Oct, was the 8th. So it's kind of funny. I just kind of noticed that in my little research for this month. A lot of my information does come from these books here, Earth Time, Moon Time especially, and the Moon Magic. So a lot of stuff about dates and calendars and traditions throughout the year. Really good stuff in there. And we're on the 9th month of the year. We've got 3 more Zooms after this to complete the whole 1 year. The 12 zodiac. Each new moon is in a different sun sign. So we're kind of traveling through the year in this way. Oh, another interesting thing I noticed, how many times we have New Year. So in the Western world, we celebrate New Year's in January, and then in February, there's Chinese New Year, and then in March, it's like spring, so the pagans are like, it's a new year. And actually today, I learned from our guest tonight, Ileana, I got to eat an apple and some honey this morning because it's Rosh Hashanah. So it's kind of fun how many times we get renewal throughout the year. It's like this constant, never-ending cycle, right? All right, so welcome. Just let somebody else in the room. We are talking about the harvest moon. So right now we're doing our harvest things. Previously we were doing the nesting moon. So last month we talked about wild crafting, which is like collecting herbs and things from the wild. You see animals kind of collecting and being busy, like, oh gosh, the fall is coming, and now it's the harvest time, so it's like all the fruits of all the labors, it's now time to bring it in, see what count everything we got, and an assessment. There's a lot of assessment going on. The next month, the blood moon, the sorting moon or the blood moon is kind of a culling. It's like, okay, what do we have? How much of this is beneficial? How much are we taking and leaving? So right now we're just gathering everything, all this information, like the beginning of the school year. Everybody is planning for the fall. It's like end of summer. A lot of planning happening right now because of this Virgo energy. The moon and the sun both being united in Virgo. It's a great time to plan and also assess. So looking at the tarot cards, the justice and karma, so the law of what you give is what you get kind of thing. So you reap what you sow. And right now is a good time to look at that, like, as this year kind of comes to a close, what have we done so far? What have we yet to do that we intended to do for this year? and kind of work that into the plan, so we kind of get those things aligned for this cycle. The nines of completion and the queens of nurturing and releasing. Like what do we need to give more energy to, and what can we kind of let go of, and that goes more into the blood moon or the sorting moon, when we're culling the herd and we're taking out the weak or the old, just kind of keeping it healthy and fresh, and in that way. The Virgo energy for this month is more focused on service to the community, and Libra, sharing and justice. So a lot of gathering happens around this time. Harvest is like people coming together. We actually had an in-person new moon celebration last night. We were able to camp and be under the dark night sky and look at the stars and everything. So there's this gathering and coming together during the harvest, because it's often a lot of work. It's a lot of push, a lot of energy to just get it done, like get all the last little pieces of summer and all the fruits of the season before the thinning time, like the cold season comes. So we've got Mercury, the planet, so all of our thinking and planning and talking and communication, and then Venus of cooperation. The next full moon is going to be a Pisces full moon, and it will be on Monday, September 20th. So nice, dreamy, ethereal Pisces. It's the exact opposite of Virgo. So that full moon gives us this chance to like find the balance in the opposition. So really like letting go of the planning too much and stepping back. So there's always this duality. The themes I've seen throughout this whole year so far, there's constantly duality in everything. So full moon, new moon, it's like equal and opposite, guiding us forward. So that same week of the full moon is then going to be fall equinox. It occurs on Wednesday, 2 days after the full moon, September 22nd, equal day and night. We'll get 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark, until the sun starts waning, and we're going to get less and less sunlight, more and more darkness. So fun things to do, all the obvious fall things: baking, bonfires, hiking in the woods, camping, apple picking, and all those kind of harvest-related activities, canning, jarring, selecting your pumpkin, doing the corn maze thing, all this stuff, leaf collages, leaf piles. If you are like collecting leaves in your yard, it's still pretty early here. I haven't seen a single leaf change color, but when that does happen and you start collecting the leaf piles, the best thing you can do is just leave them like around trees as mulch to keep them warm, the roots warm and moist. Don't bag it up, because all that leaf litter is like good compost and good nutrients for the soil. And Jack actually was showing me some of her crafts because she was on here earlier. I wonder if, Jack, can you show us some of your little crafty things that you've been doing tonight, if you are still on and available?
It wasn't tonight, and it wasn't me. It was actually my friend's daughter who's been doing all the cute little crafts.
She made all these little cookies and baked goods that are shaped like spiders and witchy things.
There's spider crackers. We have boo bark, chocolate, some witch fingers.
Yummy. This reminds me of like a Halloween potluck party foods.
Yeah, and then
the little spider webs are so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely seeing a lot more spiders already. I've already had 2 things with pumpkin in them.
There's one on the altar.
All right. So diving into the topic for this month, which is voicing our intentions. So, intention. I want to come back to this. Let's start with intention, right? So intention, from not as so much as like what's my goal and how am I going to do it and step 1, step 2, step 3, but more like what is the purpose? Why am I doing a thing? And I always think of this great Venn diagram about finding your bliss, combining what you love, what you do well, what the world needs, and what the world wants to pay for, and finding your little bliss bubble. Sort of like, why are you doing this? Like, of course, we all need to make money so that we can survive, but like, what kind of life do you want to live, and how are you going to, can you reduce your bills so you don't have to make as much money, and so you don't have to work as often if you're finding like your time is consumed by work or traveling to and from work? Can you like be closer to it or find a job that you can work from home? Just kind of think about why, like, are you happy, and what's your, how to find your happiness. So it's more of a feminine approach to attracting your desires, like the law of attraction, like also clearly knowing what it is you want. So not just like, I want this particular job or I want this particular person. Why? What is it that you want? Why is that the thing you want? And really boiling it down to the feeling, like in your heart and in your womb and in your gut and your body, like really feeling it in your body, right? As opposed to like thoughts and like, well, I should get a job because that's what I'm expected to do, right? And that's like the societal thing. Well, it's like, boil it back down to like what's going to make me happy, and how can I live a fulfilled life in that kind of way. I hope that's coming across clear. Another thing, like being able to communicate what you're wanting to say and also being understood. So this whole topic of like the voice and intention, clearly your intention, so sometimes we can say something and it'll be misinterpreted, or we want to say something but we feel closed off in the throat. Like how many times I would feel that way when I was younger, and it still happens today, but our throat is now I'll go back to this slide here. The throat Yoni connection. You guys, this image is a drawing. It's all over the internet on several different sites. It's beautiful artwork by this Louisa Alexander, depicting the similarities between the uterus, or the yoni, the whole womb space, and the throat. So both are portals of entry and exit. The jaws we can open, just like we can open our legs, right? The pelvis. And as I'm saying this, go ahead and like start massaging your jaw, your throat, and things like this. Just really get us into this throat opening space. If you press your tongue on the roof of your mouth, you feel that kind of rigid, a little bit of a bump. It feels kind of good. Mimics the location and the feeling of the G-spot. The whole throat here, like you can see in the picture, it kind of looks like the vagina. The back of the throat being the cervix, like where the vocal cords are. And of course the lips, the labia. So they have a physical resemblance, and they're also energetic mirrors. So if you look at like chakras, right, we have the 7 major chakras, the first one being the root. And if you go use like the musical scale of fifths, where you skip 2 and then the next one would be like to balance it out. So you have your root chakra is connected to your heart chakra, and then you go up 1 to your sacrum, or where your yoni lives, that sacral space where your navel is, and the opposite would be the throat. So like balancing, if you're working on either of the chakras, the throat or the sacrum, or the belly or the womb space, like you working in tandem, like with the energetic mirrors. So let's just take a big deep breath and sigh. Sigh, moan. Start to begin to really relax your neck, maybe massage it out a little bit, and also loosening your lower belly. I was speaking with a friend last night who's going to be our guest in December for the birth moon. She's a doula, and she was telling me when women are having problems in labor, what she'll do is she'll just put a little bit of pressure. She says they'll often be clenching like tight right here in the neck. So she'll just put a little bit of pressure on the jaw, and it just instinctively they relax. They relax the throat, the jaw, and they find easier labor. So that's such a wild connection. I'm so glad she told me that last night so I could share that with you. So yeah, how does it feel to speak your truth? How does it feel when you say something it gets misinterpreted? Like where in your body do you feel these things? I shared a website, I believe, this link down here in the New Moon Circle group, but I'd love to share that podcast where I was listening to it. It's on the Well Woman podcast, and I have it in the resources here, but I'll share it in the Facebook group as well. All right, so voicing your intentions. Our guest tonight is my friend, who I'm so blessed to know, and I'm grateful that these guests have been friends of mine, and everybody has so much really awesome things to share. I kind of fangirled out when I learned that Ileana was the voice of the Twilight series for the audiobook, and Dune, the classic sci-fi novel. And she also has a really great podcast called the Know I Know podcast. It's also aired on NPR, the local radio station, and she's an amazing vocalist with her band. Her and her partner James have a band. So I'm super happy that she's here with us tonight. And I'm going to just kind of turn it over to you, Ileana. I know you had some activities for us to do to kind of open up that voice. Hopefully she's here. If you have a pen and paper handy, go ahead and grab that, and also some water.
Yeah, I'm here, Roma. Do you want to unshare the screen so we can go
Yes.
back to seeing each other?
Yeah. Right. Unshare, stop share. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Hey everyone. Since this is the more interactive part, I would love if you were willing to put your cameras on. You can keep yourself muted until we ask for some interactive stuff, but you can have your mics muted, but I would love to have you have your cameras on if you're willing. Um, so as Roma said, hi. So as Roma said, I do between all the voice work that I do and being a voice coach and everything that has to do with the voice, it's such a powerful part of us as human beings and as women and as well, particularly in this group because there's women, but and in terms of things that you want to do with your career and your relationships. And so the work that I do with people, it's like what Roma said, there's setting it, there's intentions. And when you break down intentions, like you said, there's thoughts, there's emotions, But what I find with people is they get so caught in their thoughts about what they want to do, and then they also get really caught in their emotions about what they want to do, and it just stops. And if I turned around to those people and I said, "Can you actually articulate to me what you want to do? Can you clearly tell me what your vision is for your life or what your plans are? If you've got this cool project or this business or this idea, or you know who you want your mate to be, this relate like just any aspect of your life that they suddenly see the value in being able to articulate it really clearly using our voices, our words. And I don't know if it's because of the technology culture where people are now doing way more texting and emailing and stuff, and they're not calling, they're not talking voice to voice. So people have gotten really scared and, dare I say, a bit passive about using their voices. There's a lot of passivity. Well, they go, I kind of want people to know what I mean in a little bit of language. That's like texting, right? I want to be able to tell you a couple of words and I want you to be a mind reader and tell me that you understand what I want and what I'm trying to do. No, no, no. Never expect anyone to be a mind reader. I think our voices are so powerful. So take that away. People are not mind readers in this regard. They don't know what you want, what you feel. So we have to verbalize it and we have to start using language artfully. Um, but to even get to using language artfully, we have to own and have a sense of agency around our instrument. Our voice is an instrument. Like some people love singing, and so they get into their voices through singing, right? Whether they're in the music business or they love mantra and chanting, or maybe you just love talking to your friends, so you might consider yourself chatty. But this is like a totally different kind of use of the voice, an intentional, masterful, artful use of the voice. Um, Before we get into the writing aspect, which is really just about you kind of revealing to yourself what's really going on in terms of your relationship with your voice, we can warm it up a little bit. Here's some kind of like traditional voice exercises. And interestingly, on the slide that Roma showed about the connections between the voice and our pelvic region or the yoni and all those things, and using humming. So actually, that's the very first thing that I do with my voice students. To What we want to do is create tone, okay? Actual vibrational tone. And the only way that our voices can create tones is when our cords, our vocal cords, are making gentle but firm contact with each other. We're not bearing down on our voice and hurting it or exerting it. And we're not under using our cords so that we're breathy or we're kind of in a vocal fry in our throat, or we don't really fully project our voice as strong and as big as we want. We kind of play it in these safe little zones. Okay, so how do we change that? So humming is an opportunity to bring the vocal cords together to make contact and then create the vibration from the vocal cords and then move the vibration that the hum creates around your body. So we're going to do some humming, but I want you to think of your vocal registers. Most people think of high, medium, and low when they think of voice registers, right? They go, well, there's low, people that talk really sexy and husky. And then maybe there's the mid speakers that are right here in their mouth. And then there's people that are very high and bright. Well, those are kind of generalities. So think almost that you have 3 points in each of your registers. So 9 total. 3 in your high register, 3 in your mid, and 3 in your low. If you just visualize that like a map, there's so many more places in your voice. And what those places contain are all the different emotional facets of you, all your colors, right? You when you're feeling confident, you when you're feeling vulnerable, you when you're feeling passionate, you when you're feeling rage and anger and you want justice. Um, so all those points in your register, see them like a map of destinations. So what we're going to do, and since your mics are muted, just going to do some inhaling and exhaling. And then what you do is when you inhale and then you exhale, bringing the lips gently together, and you start in the mouth. So feel the vibration here. Like you just ate a cookie and you're like, so good. Then keep doing it so you feel the vibration move all over your face. Kind of waking up your face. Even your eyes, even your skull. Send that hum even up to the top of your skull. Higher than you might ever use your voice. You may feel silly, you may feel childish, you may feel zany and wacky, and that's still you. Right, then we can move it down our channel. So now moving it from like maybe directly from the mouth into the throat, into that throat chakra. Who lives there in you? What is this side of you? What could she express if she expressed something? So really commit. Feeling that vibration in your throat. Good. Then sending that same hum into your chest, your whole heart and chest. So sending it. You're consciously moving that hum vibration down into your chest. So down in your chest could feel like something else. It could feel vulnerable. It could feel fierce, strong. It's going to be unique based on you. Maybe you feel kind of awkward. Good. Still moving that hum that emanates from your lips down further into like the solar plexus and belly. So you keep sending that hum into each chakra point. Just waking up all the points of you through your voice. And keep letting it move lower into the pelvis. This can feel more challenging. How do I make my sound down there as connected and powerful? Right? How to let it be as open. So this hum, as an exercise, remember it starts, and you can do this anytime. It starts in the mouth, and then you move it around your face up to the very sort of crown chakra, and then you can move it down and you can move it back up again, and you can just kind of let it go like a wave. From high to low and low to high. And just that act, which is probably feels more odd than you might normally do. Just kick out the cobwebs of your registers. So you could start with that humming. Then the other thing I like to lead people to is lip trills. This actually tests whether you have full breath capacity or you're doing very shallow chest breathing. So very often, if you can't sustain this, it means that you're not breathing fully. So you should be able to go and kind of hold that lip trill for a really long time. And if you can't, you sputter out. You're not breathing enough into your gut. So inhaling and hold it as long as possible. And that just really creates a lot of vibration. You can wiggle your body. Right, it should feel really good. Another inhale again. Really helps you let the face go. The other things that you can do are moving into some vowel sounds to actually open your voice up into ways you might not normally do it because you're like, I don't do vowel type vocalizing. That's things like singers might do, right? Singers may go A, E, I, O, U, they do that stuff. And the point of doing that is that this channel, this instrument you have, unless you're kind of opening the windows and opening the doors and letting in the light and letting in the air in your voice is not going to activate from those centers. So even something as simple as an E sound will allow you to kind of go up into your head a little bit. Sometimes people feel like, I don't, he. They're like, why would I go up there? That just feels really odd, but there's brightness and uncertainty and a willingness to sometimes sound a little bit sillier or brighter than you would normally sound, and you don't know what you sound like up there. So he, he, he. So send the E to like your third eye. He. You can rub the third eye while you're sending it up there. He. Yeah, because our voice and our body are so connected as energy channels. So that's another nice thing to do is send vowels to different parts of your register. So let's say you're a person that's very low down in your register, you don't go high. Sending a vowel up high is really good counterbalance. Or let's say you're someone that's up here all the time and you never go low. So maybe you'll do an oh, ooh, and you'll send it down into the pelvic, yoni grid, ooh, right? It sounds really charactery and crazy, but we all have characters that live in us. Ooh, ooh, or oh, whatever feels like you can send the vowel down there. And you can touch the area of your body that you're trying to send the vowel down to. Ooh, ooh. You can also, if the vowels are not familiar or comfortable, you can always use the corresponding chakra sounds, right? You can go to each chakra point and do lam, 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 and create that vibration, right? Lam. So maybe just we'll say each chakra point a couple of times, lam, lam, and feel that point in the body as we say it, that body voice connection, as Roma was saying. And that sacral chakra corresponding sound of vam, vam. Feeling that, because it's I feel, Vam, energy and flow. And then the corresponding solar plexus, Ram, 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 Ram. Yeah, behind each one of these is really our intention of what we want to say, but it's a good door opener. Heart chakra, Yam, Yam, Yam. Each of these points hold what we want to say. Yam, yam. And throat, right? Very powerful one, obviously, with vocal intention. Hum, hum. right? Part of our creative expression. Hum, I speak, I speak. Hum, hum. Into third eye chakra. Om, 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 om. Now, as we've done this kind of vibrating and cajoling, now we'll go to the crown, the ether of nothing, of silence. And that sometimes the sacred pause of nothing is the best thing that we need before we speak. Do people really pause before they speak anymore? Or do we just blurt, just rant? So sometimes this pause, silence to figure out, what do I really mean? What do I really want to say? Or maybe I just spoke out of emotion, reactionary defensiveness. So hopefully that's stimulated some things, got the voice sort of ready now. The next piece is to follow some prompts that I'm going to give you and have a piece of paper and pen and try to answer as honestly as you can for each one of these prompts. The more honestly you answer, the more powerful information you're going to receive. And like you consider that tonight in this session as your a first step to creating a new relationship between you and your voice, reinvigorating your relationship with your voice. So your first prompt is completely from your own point of view, no one else's, nothing aspirational, just what is. My voice is. In answering this, think about, what does your voice transmit, do you think, to the world? What do people know about you or feel about you, get from you through your voice? And hopefully it's got some detail, some good juicy adjectives that came from your own perspective. Okay, the second prompt is, other people say my voice is. every type of person you encounter in your life, family, close relationships, co-workers, other people say my voice is. And the third prompt is this is what I like to call the uncharted territory, the gray area. So, what is the uncharted territory of your voice? What have you yet to discover in your voice? What would you like to see your voice capable of doing? So you can keep jotting and adding to these as you think about them, as we'll keep discussing. So number one, I like to say that it's the frame of what we call your default voice. And my image of your default voice is if I had a rubber band, even if I pulled it all the way out here and you stretched it to this place or that, when if I let it go, it's always going to snap back into the same place. Your voice has like a home base, its default place. And everybody's default voice and home base of their voice is different. Some people have a very low, sultry, husky voice. Some people are very high in their head voice. Some people are fast talkers. Some people are very slow and methodical. And some people are very commanding. Some people are very, just everybody's home base is different. And instead of having a sense of judgment, like what you wrote for your number one, right, which was your own assessment of your voice. People can get very critical, very judgmental of their voice and go, my voice is this and my voice is that. Instead of saying, maybe what you wrote down to number one is what is unique to you, what you can bring to the table. And if you own it and look at it as just what's most accessible to you, it's not an end point. Yes, you want to grow and you want to evolve your voice, but wherever your voice is naturally is your power, right? Instead of rejecting it and seeing that it has to be something else. So one answers to one are your home base, like where you begin when you go out the door. Number two, what other people say are those tape loops that you might have in your head. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with people and they're like, oh, I have I have such a loud, annoying voice. And I was like, oh, really? Do you feel that way? And they're like, well, actually, that's what everyone told me when I was growing up. So they heard that from like maybe their parents or people that they went to school with. And suddenly the feedback that people have been getting about their voices becomes like a tape loop in their head, and they start to believe that about their own voice. So it's good to look at number two, whatever you wrote down for number two, and be like, how much do I agree with those things? Is there an overlap between how I feel about my voice and what other people have said about it, or are they kind of separate? Um, and it's good to know that and own that, and then take what you feel is positive and useful from that feedback. And then if the other stuff that people have said about your voice is not helpful and it's inhibiting you, let it go, right? That's not going to serve you. And then number three is you have to know your vision for your voice. The uncharted territory, gray waters, like maybe somebody wrote, well, I want to be commanding with my voice and be able to sell people on an idea, get people excited, join my team. You have to know your vision. What is it that you want to do with your voice so you know where you're going with it? um, in the spirit of owning our own words and being bold about it, I would love to get a volunteer from each of these to read using your voice and feeling sort of bold enough to say your own words and own it. Own your point of view, or own those tape loops, or own your vision. So if someone would volunteer to read your answer to number one, I would love it.
Hey, it's Kelsey. Hello. I actually really liked when you now just told us about where each of the things kind of fall in, because less of my answer was adjectives and more like energy, so that's always fun. My voice is true, pure, and sometimes quiet. My voice carries my mission of love. My voice is a channel, spoken word that comes easily to me when I am in flow, and my voice is delicious, fruitful, and expanding.
Yeah. I mean, how often do we get to just talk about our voice, just to take that lens in just on our voice and really
Yeah,
like shine a light just on that alone. And
absolutely.
I and
Really,
what
I
you
don't think I've ever done it, so thank you. Very grateful.
and the fact that you wanted to talk about it, about what it transmits energetically, is exactly right. What people don't realize is our voice, whether it's singing or speaking, hits people in a cellular level. I mean, that's the essence of sound healing, right? But it's the same thing with our voice. People don't realize their speaking voices do that, right? And the
Yes,
words you choose and how you energetically tell people your ideas or introduce yourself is going to impact how they take you in and how they respond to you. And there's so much about energy in our voices.
absolutely.
Anybody
Thank
else for number one specifically? I would love to hear all the number ones anyone was willing to share. Anybody else willing to talk about their own view of their voice?
Hi, my name's Anya. Um, I just found this very difficult to like actually communicate to myself how I understood my voice. And also, I just wanted to thank you for this because it was very timely. But I do know number three very well.
Okay, good. Read number three.
I want to speak with radical kindness and compassion, um, and use my voice as an expression of love, and also musical storytelling.
I love that. So the first thing that I always say to people to when they respond to their answers to number three is to say, well, what's in your way of that being? Like, is there anything that's actually in your way of manifesting that vision for your voice? And the answer to that is going to be different for everyone, right? That can be, like you said, about not understanding your own view of your voice as an instrument, or maybe it's a tape loop of something that someone else said about your voice, or an emotional block. Because until we understand, like we were talking about this last night, Roma, at the beach and everything, we were saying it's great to have all these goals and visions for ourselves and kind of send them out, but to really ground down, and that is the yonic connection of women, of being like, what is it that's not, where I'm not giving myself permission to do whatever it is that I feel I actually already possess. I have everything I need to do this. So that's for you to answer. You don't have to say it now. But so what is preventing you from number 3, making number 3 a part of your voice? And maybe it's because you can't answer number 1, or just haven't figured out how to put to words what you think your voice is already transmitting. Adjectives are very helpful, right? So even if you start with adjectives and then, like Kelsey did, you move into energy, and then you move into, when I talk to my parents, I sound like this. When I talk to my friends, I sound like this. When I talk to coworkers, I sound like this. Is it the same, or are you putting on masks or characters, or are we pretending to be different things? And this is very common for all of us as human beings, right? We can be very chameleon like. We can shapeshift even in our own voices.
Or even just that there's so many voices that are speaking in our heads, it's hard to unify them into a common goal.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So if we look at all your answers to 1, 2, and 3, like a painter has an entire palette of color, and there's no inappropriate color for that painter to use, everything that you write down from 1, 2, and 3 are all possible directions for your voice, facets of your voice. I like to say that it's all you, it's just different facets of you and different sides of you. So unifying them, that takes work. I agree. That takes work. Like if I feel like I have a more aggressive side in my voice, or then I have a more kind and compassionate voice, that I have to unify those sides to myself. And then the last thing I'll say about this, when you say I want to what was your statement again? The vision, I want to use my voice for
Radical kindness and compassion.
So I would encourage you to visualize scenarios where that would happen. Let's be really, let's be really intentional, right? What kind of situation or event in your life would you need to speak that way, and to what effect? Not in a manipulative way, like I'm going to say this to these people and then they're going to do this, but in a really truthful way. I want to use my voice this way in this situation, to this effect, to this end, so that this can happen. There's nothing wrong with painting that whole, as Shakti Gawain, her book Creative Visualization, we have to really creatively visualize what we want to have happen, to then cajole our voice to be a good part of that. It's all as you said, needs that unification. Um, Someone else. We can just go around and you can decide whether you want to read your answer to 1, 2, or 3, whatever you feel really, excited to share.
Thank
Brave
you.
enough to share. Yeah.
I agree with, hi, I'm Ashley.
Hi.
I agree with Anya. I had a hard time kind of putting an adjective to what I felt about my voice, and I had a hard time with number 2 as well. But for both of those, I just wrote down warm, dynamic, and sometimes hesitant. And in a way, that's my number 3 would be, I like that I'm warm, and I'm very honest and caring, and I think that comes across in my voice, but at times I have a hard time choosing my words, and I can definitely come across as very hesitant.
Mm. So you're saying your answer to number three is about not wanting to sound hesitant, about being more masterful of your choice of words or
Well,
owning.
sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's my hesitance is a part of who I am, I suppose, but and I don't necessarily mind it, but it would be good to be more decisive and more, you know, controlling of my own desires and wants.
You know, I think it's a byproduct of our culture being very impatient and there being so much stimulus and people feeling like, spit it out already, right? Like people are very impatient, especially with people who are more thoughtful and a different at a slower tempo and choosing words, and they interpret it as hesitant, which is actually not always accurate.
Yeah, for sure.
So I always say, and you're not the first person I've heard say that of people that I've worked with, and I always say, you know what, then that's really when we have to draw people to us and get them on our tempo.
Yeah.
That's actually some of the most masterful public speaking I see is when people draw people to them and bring them into their tempo as opposed to kind of being a slave to their tempo.
Yeah, that's a good goal to have for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll just say one more thing about the adjectives. If you had to describe, like if people have to describe their bodies or they have to just describe their personalities in general, like think about an aspect of yourself that you maybe describe more often, right? People go, "Oh, I'm trim, I have red hair, I'm this, I'm that," and they can kind of describe other things about themselves. It's just about taking some time and maybe it'll come to you later tonight or tomorrow, but thinking of how to describe your voice in the same way you would describe any other aspect of yourself. And it doesn't have to be adjectives, it could be energies as other people have done, but just how do you think it sounds and how do you think it comes across? And then I know that number two is challenging for people because they don't often remember feedback that they've been given by people, like unless it was negative. So it is interesting about that. People will remember all the most negative things that people have said. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, I want to mention, sorry, I'm driving. So, um, for my number two, that one's pretty easy for me. So, like your side, like the more respectful side, people say that my voice is very calming. It's good for meditation. It's very soothing. And then I have people that tell me I'm too loud. So, I mean, I think that probably all of our volumes can become a little loud sometimes, but I think it's funny how contradicting that is. Though, I don't know, sometimes I can be pretty intense. So I understand why, my volume does sometimes get away from me. Though, like sometimes when I'm told I'm being loud, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not even being that loud right now.
Well, it's like Anya was saying about we have a bunch of different voices that live in us, and to a lot of times it's either a unifying process we're looking for, or we just need different aspects of our voice in different situations. Some people will go, when I'm with my coworkers, I sound like this, and then if I'm talking to a really close friend, I sound differently. Or if I'm talking to my mother, people can tell I'm talking to my mother, like I have a different tone of voice, right? So we do have different voices. Having a sense of consciousness of why you're doing that. Why are you louder? Why are you softer? Why are you calmer in certain moments? And to Roma's point, this is about intentionality. So start having a sense of agency and not just being random. I want to sound like this in my voice because I feel like it's going to be more authentic or it's going to serve me or the situation. And so instead of, I think a lot of times I feel like a lot of women and girls that I work with feel that they're constantly kind of fitting themselves into different boxes vocally. And the men that I work with it's actually very different. They don't even sort of think that way. I just talk like this. It's very rare that I'll have a male voice client that will say, I sound like this with this person and this and this and this. It's women generally that are like doing all this chameleon-y kind of stuff. Maybe it's trying to please or to adapt constantly or take care of people or whatever it is for you. Um, but that's why we have all those colors and shades. Anybody else want to share any of the numbers response?
Um, so I wrote, let's see, my voice is meaningful, heard, and appreciated. I guess I interpreted it less literally. Meaningful, heard, and appreciated. Um, it transmits inspiration, comfort, and then I was kind of thinking about when misunderstandings, whatever I said was misunderstood, or urgency. Sometimes I don't really go in with tact. I just like, this is my point. This is what I'm trying to say. And I just like don't really think about what that person is doing. I just kind of throw at them, kind of like you're throwing out a text or something, like, get to this whenever you can, but like, hey, there's this. So sort of like an unskilled way or like an urgency or an expectation of a reply. So I've gotten that kind of feedback before. Other people say my voice is too soft, mumbling, beautiful, worth listening. And then I just added out of breath because I used to have a lot of problems with talking and just being out of breath all the time because I had asthma earlier on, and it's a lot better now. So, and then the uncharted territory, I want to be able to sing. I want to be able to stand up for something. Like if I see something I think is, oh, that's kind of like, like I should have said something, or I should have said something at that point, or I should have said this, I should have said that. I think that often, like I should have said. Like, why didn't I say it? I want to make people laugh, and I want to be authentic. Yeah.
I love it. Just to focus on the answers to number 3, it's one of the hardest things I find people talking about is in this climate of this society that we live in, people are very afraid to talk about things that they're not sure people are going to agree with them on, right? There's this sense of a reactionary climate. So that, talk about, not feeling like you can take your time to choose your words. People are either really stymied because they don't want people to misunderstand them, or they don't want to offend people, or they go, I don't know, is my audience made up of people that agree with me on everything? And are they going to be offended by what I say if I want to, as Roma said, fight for something or stand up for something, or I should have said so? That's such a powerful example. And one of the things I work with people on is how do you talk about things that are challenging? How do you talk about things that have an emotional charge? Because in the intro, Roma was talking about one of the most difficult things is for us to feel vulnerable and really emotional and then also talk at the same time. Think about what happens to you the minute you get choked up, you get sad, right? You're feeling like crying. The very first thing is that you feel that tightness in your throat and in your chest. And suddenly people go, oh, I'm about to cry. I can't talk. And being able to talk and drop into your body, as Roma was saying, even while you feel really deeply about something, is the most powerful experience you can give yourself. I mean, there's great examples. You can watch TED Talks, or you can just watch really powerful public speakers where they talk about something that they feel so strongly about, it's in their soul, and they're still. In fact, I have a friend who did a TED Talk, or she's given many TED Talks, and she got up to introduce a film. She's a National Geographic a photographer, Nikon ambassador. She's given tons of TED Talks on saving baby elephants and pandas around the world, and she got up at a film festival, and she's really seasoned professional, and I could tell that she was about to cry because she cares so much about her work. And she got choked up, and instead of shutting down or forcing herself to talk through the tears, she just paused and kind of let the audience see her have an emotional reaction, and she gave herself a beat and a breath, and then she started talking, and that audience was hers. So actually, when we let people see how much we care and how we feel, and we're not defended or armored, and we breathe, and then we share, we've drawn them to us, and everything we'll say, they won't be like, well, I want to fight with you about this because I don't agree with everything. They're just going to be so taken with your honesty and your emotional connection, they might actually hear what you have to say for the first time. They might actually hear the content instead of just being in their own thoughts, like I'm just figuring out what I'm going to say in response to what she's saying. You know, this is how we live now, right? People talk and then people are waiting to give their response. But if we draw people in emotionally, so don't be afraid of your emotional responses to what you want to say. Use them as gasoline. So I was just thought about that when Roma was talking. And then, you know, I love make people laugh, right? That's such a clear intention. I feel that way too. Like I go into situations and especially if they feel heavy and dark, I always think, what could I say or do with my voice right now to make people feel better? You know, to lift their spirits or make them laugh. Like that's a good intention. I like those kind of serving in service intentions with your voice.
Mhm.
Did anyone else did anyone not share that wanted to share?
Jack, are you sharing or no? Okay.
So the answers to one, now you have what you just did by answering the 1, 2, and 3 is you've started this, you've just opened the door. We've sort of zeroed the lens in on your voice, something you don't often think about singularly, right? You think about it with your body, your personality, you're like the whole package. You think about yourself as a whole package, but your voice. So I urge you, writing down before you talk is such a great way to get over that awkwardness. So very often if someone's trying to do something, let's take Roma's whole thing, like I want to make people laugh, or somebody says I want to be very radical acceptance and kindness, or I want to transmit love. And I was saying, give me an example. Write down an example of a scenario where you'd like to see yourself bringing that and write it out and then read it out loud to yourself. When we read our own words, right? Everybody does journaling, but do you ever read them out loud and allow your voice to own the words that you've written? Sometimes people are not good at the extemporaneous, so they're not good at like improvisational of words. So writing is very helpful. So I would just suggest anything you have that's a vision for your voice, write it down, then speak it out loud to yourself, then speak it out loud to someone else that you think will be very connecting with your vision, and speak it to them, and maybe let them ask you some questions about it and respond to their questions and get confidence and build your muscle of being able to use your voice as a projector of your truth. You know, it takes practice, just like going to the gym and building our muscles is like our voice needs tending, you know, we need to build the confidence and strength.
I really love that the visualization part, because that's such a big part of manifestation. Like, you know, when you know what you want, you just kind of have this intention, and you start to visualize how it's going to happen, or what it look. Maybe you don't know how it's going to happen, but you know what it looks like when you get there. You have this like vision. So I personally, I do want to sing, and I want to share like mantra music with people. So one thing that helps me, I definitely write it down. Like I'll take all these notes, I write down my mantra so I can remember it, right? And one thing that really helped me is doing like live present performances or whatever. For me, like, you know, we've all been so separate and everything. So doing just like Facebook lives, just like screaming into the void, you know? It's like, I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this, but I'm going to say it, you know? And that's been really a good practice for me is with like getting my voice out there. And I know like Kelsey does a lot of lives. Anya, I've seen do lives. Jen does like her tea and tarot on Tuesdays, tea and tarot Tuesdays. So I think like because of this day and age, like we have that ability to just go live. That's like a big thing, you know? It like took a lot for me to like do it. I was scared at first and now I can kind of just do it and it's whatever, but it's been really good practice for me and for my voice.
So one, you're making me think of, you said just sending my voice out to the void. That's a lot of what stops people from using their voice because it feels like a vacuum. Like I'm just sending my voice out to the vacuum, and is it just kind of being swallowed up and it's gone? And who's paying attention? Who's hearing? That's why that visualization of that scenario, who is the audience? Who's the intended audience for what you have to say? If it's my husband, if I'm like, I got to tell my husband this, he's the intended audience. And I think about what I want him to understand and get. Or my intended audience is my boss, or somebody that I work under, or my business partner, or my friend that needs to really get their whole perspective shifted on something. Think about who the audience is and then what you want them to feel by what you're saying. I want them to be inspired. I want them to believe in me. I want them to let me do this. I want them to invest in my business. I want them to blah blah blah. So that's one of the best keys I could also leave you with is think about with everything you're saying, the intended audience and what you want them to feel with what you're saying. That could be a really powerful kind of focusing of your intention, because then it's not just about you and your voice and what you're saying and sending it out to the vacuum. It's very intentional because you know who you're talking to and what you want them to get from you. So hopefully that's stimulated some great ideas, and feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my site back in the chat, and um, I coach people all the time on different things that they're doing in their voice world, so you can always find out more about that. And thanks Roma for asking me to do it.
Thank you for being here. And I did want to share some more slides. Let's see. Oh, am I sharing my screen? I'm not sure if you guys can see this. No?
I can see it.
Oh, you can? Okay. For some reason, I can't do the slideshow. Huh. Oh, share. Hmm. Basically, I would like to just end with, oh, there it is. Can you guys see the share now? Oh, here it is. Oh, for some reason, I was like paused on sharing. Hopefully, you guys can see this now. Yeah, mantra. You see mantra? No?
I don't see mantra.
Okay.
Don't see
Oh, okay.
the harvest moon. Okay.
Um, stop.
Yeah, maybe exit out and then try
Yeah,
to
I
make
did
sure that when you
like,
share your screen, you're in your actual presentation. It seemed like you were
there we
in
go.
your, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Great. So mantra means to train the mind, and this is like the way I've personally found to get my voice out. Like said in the exercise, I had a lot of problems with being misunderstood, talking too softly, mumbling, just a lot of problems with my throat, even with my parents when I was younger, like not being able to talk, just feeling like that. So I wanted to share mantra with you guys as a little practice you can do by yourself or with other people to just practice like getting your voice out of your body. And it's a form of meditation, and it's so when we meditate, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. We did those vibrations with the om, hum, lam, all those things of vibrating the vocal cords. That's all really good stuff for our bodies, for the vagus nerve. And I put together a ton of chants for you guys. So when this is more of like to go in and go for the PDF, I've got elemental chants if you want, like opening, calling on the directions, the earth, water, fire, air songs that I've shared in fire circles before, a Native American one, Kundalini mantras like Om Namo, Guru Dev Namo, and each one of these slides you can just kind of like visit it after I post it if you want to, or print them out or write them down on little cards like I do. I put their meaning and what they're used for. This Om Namo Guru Dev Namo is chanted before every Kundalini yoga session. You're calling on your wisdom of your body or the teacher within. That's a really good one. I do it every morning with the Tibetan 5 rites. The Mangalacharan Mantra is really good for if you're traveling. It's just like a mantra of protection. Satnam, Satnam. If you want to do like a japa practice where you take a mala, like 108 bead necklace, and just do like one mantra per bead, we could do that together. So what I'm actually want to offer is on Monday nights for the rest of the month is to do Mantra Monday, and we kind of pick a mantra and we do it together for 108 times. We don't have time for that tonight, but I just wanted to kind of show you these slides, and so you know that they're there for you in the PDF, which is on my website on romanomad.com on the Moon Tribe page. And I'll share it in the group as well, so you can get these PDFs. There's a Shakti Mantra for your feminine divine and for that radiance and law of attraction, the magnetism, drawing to you what you desire. We did this mantra back in April when it was the mating moon, when it was all about Tantra. We kind of did that with a little bit of body movement. The Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo Namo. Buddhist mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum is one you see all the time on all the Buddhist prayer flags. It's just repeated. That's like the big Buddhist one besides just Om, is Om Mani Padme Hum. And the Maha Mantra, which is the one I have tattooed on my arm here, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is said to be the mantra of this yuga, or the Kali Yuga, the age that it's kind of like a balancing, canceling out this like negativity and bad things. This is like the bad things yuga according to some Indian scriptures, and mantra is a way to find some peace in these troubled times. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but there's Ganesha, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, really good one for just good luck, blessings. I had an experience one time doing this meditation where I like felt this divine presence of Ganesha just like blessing me, as if they're like putting their hands on me in divine moment there. Shri Lakshmi, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. done this before. It's a really good one if you want to identify more with the goddess instead of the more masculine deities. The Hanuman Chalisa is a great one. Shiva Mantras. And I did put some chords in here if you're playing around with like a ukulele, a guitar, or a piano, or whatever you have. If you know a few basic chords, they're very easy ones to play, like C, G, and F, which resonate in different chakras of your body. So when you're making these notes and you're tuning your voice, you know, our voice is kind of like our personal instrument. So you're tuning it and you're hitting those notes. And so our energy's becoming more in tune, like in a good frequency. So we're there. There's a few really good, powerful mantras in here as well. Again, feel free to go through here and pick out what you want. Don't worry about what you don't want. If you want to do the Monday night thing, we'll be doing this mantra, the Gayatri Mantra, and a few others. The Om Bhava Svaha Tatsavitur Varinyam Argo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat. It's a really good one. So this is the one I want to do with you guys tonight because I really think this is a good one for the world and what it needs. And this is actually more of a Buddhist one as well. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. It's those 4 words. So I have got my harmonium here, and I'm just gonna be playing an F and a C. So you can listen, everybody can stay muted and just kind of sing along. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. We'll do that. We're going to start with 3 rounds of Om. Everybody knows that one. So I'm going to put F and C together on the harmonium. So it's our heart, the note of F, and then rooting down for C. And take a nice deep breath. Another Om. The last Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace to all beings. Peace to all beings everywhere. So, thank you so much for coming and hopping on tonight. I know it's a very busy time of the year. We've got a lot of balls in the air. We're all really gathering all this last bit of sun energy before we start to really rest and go into our more hibernation modes. So, some of these mantras we will be going over on Mondays. If you guys are interested, we'll just kind of spend about 20 or 30 minutes each Monday for the rest of the month for all of September, if you guys are into it. And do these last few mantras, the Guru Mantra, the Oma Satoma, the Gayatri Mantra. Yeah, so those three for sure. And yeah. Oh, if you are local and you want to come to a live Kirtan, there's Kirtan every Thursday up in Delaware at 6 p.m. It kind of rotates between, there's a yoga studio they go to once a month, or it's in a house. There's lots of stuff online. A lot of the mantra pages here, I kind of put a YouTube to, you could just put on a 108, click the YouTube, and it'll go to like 108 recitations of that mantra, and you can just kind of listen to that. And that's kind of what we'll be doing on Monday, Mantra Mondays this month, is just doing the mantra with a mala 108 times with no musical accompaniment or anything. We're just going to kind of dive into mantra meditation for the next 3 weeks. And I'll be sharing the Well Woman podcast about the throat yoni connection. That's just one of many that kind of talk about the throat and the yoni and the voice. But I'll share that in the group. And as always, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for just being here. I know how valuable your time is. I know it's later in the evening on the East Coast here, and some people are tuning in on the other sides of the country where it might be a busier time of day, like middle of the day, 5 or 6 p.m. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and making these new moons a special time that you can just kind of connect and ground down into this cyclical energy of this planetary nature and just kind of be here in community online when we can't do so in person. So next month we have the blood moon. We're going to talk all things menstruation, ovulation, all, blood clots, thin blood, like missed periods, late periods, herbs you can use to support, yoni steaming, all this stuff with my friend Laura Durbin, who I met in Thailand, and she's here in Maryland as well. She has a business with, she's a doula, and she does yoni steaming professionally, and she's a menstruation consultant, so she's all these great things. And I'm really excited about next month because I love talking periods and menstruation. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys are excited about periods as I am. And with that, that's it. That's all I have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And if you want to say anything, I will stop the sharing and stop recording.